So last week, Pokemon announced Gen 10, Pokemon Wind and Waves. The rumors and leaks were true. They started off the trailer by showing us a bunch of cool cutscenes and little art pieces from the previous games. Then they showed us the Pikachu, Wavy-Chew, and Wind-Chew that were different outfits, types of Pikachus. Those things were kind of interesting, but I don't understand the difference between them or if they're new to the series or what. I am not the Pokemon expert here at all. But today we're going to talk about Gen 10. We're going to talk about what it means for Nintendo, because at the very end of this trailer, after they showed us off a bunch of good-looking gameplay, in my opinion, it was 2027, the year it was slated for. So before we talk about what that means, let's talk about the game itself. Pokemon Wind and Waves looks really, really good. The water is gorgeous. And IGN, they replied, the Pokemon company did, their Twitter account to IGN talking about how the water looked and saying 7.8 out of 10. Of course, referencing the 3DS games in which they infamously, I suppose, gave the Pokemon games a 7.8 out of 10 because of too much water, leading to a ton of controversy and memes about IGN reviewing systems. It was so funny to see them be self-aware. This is very much not something that Nintendo or the Pokemon company is used to doing or providing, and so it was hilarious to see that sort of self-realization and being able to poke at themselves a little bit. The game looks really, really good in terms of what we have seen thus far. Now, I am saying it very cautiously because we have seen trailers in the past that sort of made us believe that these games were going to end up being and looking better than they were. I even think back to something like Pokemon Snap. This game looks incredibly similar to Pokemon Snap on the Nintendo Switch, in which that game probably is the best looking Pokemon game to this day. This is going to rival that for sure, and I think Game Freak might be using this hardware to its potential, which is something that they did not do at all in the Nintendo Switch era. Like, all of those games looked pretty much horrible outside of Pokemon Snap, and let's go, Pikachu and Eevee were very simple remakes of the first games, and so they kind of did look pretty good there. But outside of that, the other games just did not look good. This is by no means anything close to the top peak of potential that the Nintendo Switch 2's hardware has. I mean, we've seen games like Resident Evil Requiem look incredible on this console. Capcom has knocked it out of the park in the first year of this console. And so for us to see this now, a game that looks like a really high-end PS3 game, PS4 early days game, like, I am happy with that from the Pokemon company, because that is just how low that bar had been. And we need to talk about that for a second, because people are saying that this game looks good. This is the first time I have seen all Pokemon fans pretty much be united in saying that, yeah, this is fine. It looks totally acceptable, and I am just so glad to see it because the community has been so toxic for so long. The Switch generation really brought out the worst in Pokemon and Pokemon fans, and like, I just know that there are so many people out there that love this brand, love the franchise, and to see them be able to kind of come together for once, it feels amazing. As an outsider, it feels incredible. I just played Pokemon Fire Red. I picked it up for the first time last week, and I got about an hour into it, and that was the first time I've ever played any sort of Pokemon game. But even I recognize like every single music track, recognize so many different Pokemon. I have barely even touched anything Pokemon related, but I've seen people play other games, I've seen people talk about them, so I am not super out of the loop. And playing these games, playing the very first one, like, it is just such a crazy feeling to see all of these iconic characters and iconic soundtracks finally be realized in my brain as like, oh, that's where that came from. That's where that originated from. This is great. And there's just something so charming about those ports as well, just to see an easy $20 buy. You just go pick it up and boom, you get right into it. And it's just so easy and accessible. I love how they did it. And unless something crazy happens or I decide I want to go get Pokemon Pocopia, which by the way, opened at a 90 overall on Metacritic. Like, this is rivaling Resident Evil Requiem. Maybe I have to buy this game. But outside of Pocopia, the next Pokemon game I probably buy will be Winds and Waves if I decide to make that splurge. We'll have to see a little bit more about what these games look like, but I am probably leaning towards getting into this generation, especially because it is no longer an atrocity. I mean, Scarlet and Violet were embarrassing. As a Nintendo fan and as a Nintendo YouTuber, it was embarrassing to see these games look as horrific as they did. And even on the Switch 2, with those free update patches and all those updates that they put out to try to fix the dang thing, it still looked like garbage. I mean, some of these textures, they're just disgusting. They are so awful. But moving forward to Wind and Wave, I think we are finally putting that era of Pokemon behind us, and I can't really see how it could get any worse moving forward unless they just decide to rush these games any more or give something like a Legends ZA treatment in which the budget was pretty low. But even Legends ZA looked so much better than Scarlet and Violet did. Like, sure, it had problems, but it did not look that good at all. But regardless, Winds and Waves has made splashes, has made so many big impacts on the community thus far. And the favorite part about this whole thing thing, my favorite part, personal favorite, is the Pokemon starters, right? This is a huge deal in the Pokemon community. I am learning about this now, seeing the 3 starters, the fire type, the water type, and then the grass type. Now, these 3 are always the big thing every time you see a new Pokemon game. People always tell me, hey, you have got to commit. Whichever one your heart goes towards first, you gotta commit. I'm telling you right now, I'm out on that water gecko. He looks just like Sobble from Sword and Shield, those games. I'm out on him. It's between Pom Bomb, which I really thought was going to be the dude, or Grout, the grass bird-looking Pokemon that is so funny, because when I first saw this, I was like, okay, I'm out on the water type. It looks super lazy. It looks like something they've done before with Sobble. Then I saw those other 2, and I was pretty drawn to Pom Bomb, and I still am drawn to Pom Bomb, but I look at Prout, and Prout is just so funny, and I see all these memes, like the memes of his little eyebrows and like the different art styles that people have been using. It's hilarious. Now, of course, I have until 2027 to figure this out, but people have always told me you go with your gut. So right now, if I had to go with my gut still leans towards Pom Bomb, but Prout, I could see those memes getting to me, because I honestly, like, don't tell the industry this or any sort of industry, but like memes drive me to actually purchase things and go see things. Like, I have watched several movies simply because I wanted to go see them in theaters from the memes that I saw. Like, I saw Wicked last year, a musical that I wasn't really caring about at all or hadn't really heard of before, and just because of all the memes that came out about that. Now here we are with Prout. Prout might get me into this game and might get me to buy and actually play as him. For all of you Gecko fans or whatever his name was, I apologize. I'm just not feeling him. And again, I am trying to be so cautiously optimistic here because we have been burned so much. And I'm saying we now because I think I'm a part of the Pokemon fandom now. I think I'm actually getting my foot a little bit wet into the water here, just putting myself out there a little bit. But I really do think that these games look good and honestly awesome to some extent. Like, I don't think they're showing us every single thing about this game yet, obviously. And the one thing that does really worry me, and I've not like seen every single Pokemon trailer, but a part of the gameplay that they showed, all these different clips, had weird, fast-moving camera angles. Did you notice that? Looking on the screen right now, watching this trailer with me, do you notice how awkward these camera movements are? Like, yes, they're cool, they're cinematic, they're showing off the environments in unique and cool ways, but they're highlighting things that I find to be quite interesting, which is the water. They put so much effort into the water and it looks great, and there's probably going to be some cool underwater thing with this whole game and maybe some sort of city like Atlantis. That would be amazing. But at the same time, these land environments that we're seeing, we're not seeing a lot of it, are we? We're seeing it from weird angles. We're seeing it look fine. The textures we've seen thus far are okay, and I'm sure people have gone on to break all of this down and show off exactly why it's so horrible. But here I am as a casual fan that is pretty in tune to everything Nintendo and everything Pokemon, and yet I don't think this is that bad. But still, the camera angles are kind of whacking me out. I wonder if there's something weird going on. I do know that it is about to be 30 FPS, somewhere around there. Probably going to be locked at 30, at least I would hope, and try to fluctuate up towards 60. But I don't know. I doubt we're getting 60, and that is a shame. It is still kind of embarrassing to be in 2026 with a brand new piece of hardware that plays Resident Evil freaking Requiem, and we can't get a new Pokemon generation to be 60 frames per second. Like, what are we doing there? But at the same time, I'm not going to complain because it could be so much worse. That's a topic for another day on if those expectations are the only reason that people care about this, if people would be saying it wasn't even that great if it had been that standard set before, in which it wasn't awful in terms of Pokemon ZA and all these Scarlet and Violet mishaps. If the games looked fine before, or at least just decent, would we care about this? Would this feel like it's a big leap? Or video games in general, like all those leaps that we see, they're getting smaller and smaller. The Switch 2 generation is great, but they're not that much better than Breath of the Wild, in my opinion. Something like Mario Odyssey, those games look gorgeous. So yeah, Pokemon wins and wave. It is great to see how awesome these games look. I am excited to get my hands on them, and I think I just can't wait. And I think it's just great to see all the community come together for once and not have such a crazy like to dislike ratio across the board. As we move forward, we need to look at 2027 and say, what is going on with Game Freak this game, and why is this not the holiday title for this year? Because last year, Pokemon had Legends ZA be that holiday title for the Switch and Switch 2. It was a hybrid release, a dual platform release in which you could get it on both platforms, and I just don't think that they wanted to do Pokemon 2 years in a row, but at the same time, if you have a new generation of Pokemon, release it. Pokemon and Mario are the two franchises that literally get people to go to the stores and buy consoles. If Nintendo didn't like how the Switch 2 was going thus far, and they even said in different press releases, and Furukawa spoke to the media, he said that they were hoping to get bigger Western games out there for us Americans to be able to buy Switch 2s more, that it was selling at a rapid pace, but they were really a little bit disappointed with how many games and systems had been sold thus far over here in the West. And what better way to do that, in my opinion, than just releasing a Gen 10 Pokemon? Like, we can never, ever underestimate how massive Pokemon is for a console. And Legends ZA, sure, it came and it went and it sold well, and it's going to sell even more crazily well by the next financial report, but here we are right now. What is going on with Winds and Wave, and what's going on with this year's holiday title? Well, my buddy Landon is going to be really happy over at Nintendo Land to hear this, but I think it's because it's 3D Mario time. I made a whole video last year talking about why Donkey Kong Bonanza did not mean that 3D Mario was years away. A little bit of research there. They were able to show us some different quotes the developers were that made me believe that, yeah, it's part of this team. Like, half of the Odyssey team was not working on Donkey Kong Bonanza. Koizumi himself was not in the credits. He was approached by Nintendo to consider this idea. I think it was by Tanabe, who actually came up to him and was like, hey, let's make a Donkey Kong game. And he was like, sure. And it had been in development since the Switch 1 era. And so that tells me they've been working on the next 3D Mario, because those games are always in development. Nintendo, in my opinion, would never, ever pass up Pokemon being in that holiday title. Now, I know the Pokemon Company and Game Freak are different than Nintendo. They are published by Nintendo, but they kind of do their own thing and are on their own schedule. Nintendo may not have an entirely large say on when these games do release. I don't know how that works internally, but at the same time, you have to have understood that these games were in development for so long. This is now officially the longest between Pokemon generations ever. Scarlet and Violet came out in 2022. And so by the time these games release, it will have been 5 years since the last Pokemon generation, something that is never been seen before. That is really good for 2027. Now we at least know that next year already has its blockbuster titles, a brand new Pokemon generation. This year is different though, and we have a lot of great games already. Mario Tennis Fever was a blast. My review is coming on that this weekend. Stay tuned for that. It is a great game. And gosh, Pokemon Pocopia, I mean, it might be in the Game of the Year conversation. Metacritic is going crazy with this game right now. People are so excited to play this. I might have to pick it up. It looks great. Tomodachi Life is right around the corner. It's already March. We are 1 month away from Tomodachi Life Living the Dream dropping. And I told you guys in a previous video, don't sleep on this game. This is a massive game. Now, sure, it's on the Switch and it's not a Switch 2 exclusive, but that's still a big title filling out the year for Nintendo. We just had the release of Resident Evil Requiem, which was a day 1 release on the Nintendo Switch 2. People have been talking about it like it's a port, and I understand that mindset because, sure, we've had all these different third-party games come over to the Switch and be called ports before. This isn't a port if it releases day and date. It is simply the Switch 2 version of Resident Evil Requiem. It is here, and it is a reason to buy the Switch 2 because you get to play this amazing game on the go, and that's something that no other console, no other place can provide. Sure, Sony has its Portal, but you have to be around Wi-Fi and it's pretty confusing to use at times. Xbox is just a hot mess right now. That might be a video all on its own. Phil Spencer is gone. Sarah Bond is gone. Xbox might actually be riding off into the sunset. This is just a weird time for games, but here we are with the Switch 2. Things are looking good this half of the year. So of all the franchises, why do I think it's 3D Mario? Well, first, I want to say Smash Brothers is the alternative, and that's the one game I don't see happening. Smash Ultimate finished up development in 2018, and then they went on to do some more DLC, and then they finished up that development like in 2020. Actually, it was 2021 with Sora, but still, it's only been about 5 years. But that is a big game that we know could be coming anytime soon. The problem with that is Sakurai was working on Kirby Air Riders, and I just don't see Nintendo wanting to outsource to another developer or another producer than Sakurai. Sakurai is the games developer and director for this franchise, and the entire Smash Brothers team was confirmed to be working on Kirby Air Riders. So we're probably not going to see a Smash for another 3 to 5 years. The next 3D Zelda is, in my opinion, out of the question. I mean, just out of the question. It is not even close to long enough until we could even see a teaser for this thing, unless they wanted to make us wait another 2 to 3 years for a mainline Zelda, and I don't know if I can do it, man. Another interesting option for this year could be Splatoon Raiders. Splatoon is absolutely a big enough franchise for that holiday slot, and it is a single player game, which is typically the type of game you want to push out in holiday seasons, get people out there buying stuff for the holidays and families and be able to give your kids something like that. It's usually those big experiences that companies try to push. But we still know nothing about this game's scope, breadth, what the gameplay even looks like. We know nothing about Splatoon Raiders. They announced it in June of last year and barely showed us anything, and we've heard nothing since then. Absolutely nothing. We know Fire Emblem Fortune Weaves is coming, but it's probably going to be more of a summer release. I doubt that's the holiday title. There are all of these franchises that it could be, but it doesn't seem likely that any of them are it, except for 3D Mario. The only alternative could be a Luigi's Mansion 4, which I would go crazy for, but still, I doubt Nintendo wants to do that quite yet. It's on my wish list for this year, but I'm not predicting it for this year. I think that's just two different things. I don't think they have the guts to do a 3D Mario and a Luigi's Mansion 4 in the same year. I'd love it, but I just don't think they can do it. So looking at it, it has to be 3D Mario, right? We know nothing about the other half of this year. We know Fire Emblem will probably be coming soon. We know all these other games, but we don't know much about the second half. That's why they need a really big direct showing us what is coming. And that's the one thing that really does make me a little bit uncertain about 3D Mario is, do they really want to market it, to reveal it, to have such a short cycle for a brand new 3D Mario game? If you're looking at Mario Odyssey, sure, they revealed that game technically in the Switch reveal trailer back in October of 2016, but the first actual trailer, which we really knew it was a new game, was in that January presentation in 2017. Then they showed us a big fat trailer at June in that E3 Direct. Great game. Then they showed us a whole big clip in a Direct in September for that game. Came out in October. So technically, it was about a year if you count that Switch 1. So technically it was about a year if you want to count that Switch 1 reveal trailer, and then really it was only about 9 months if you count it from January to October. But if I look at how Nintendo has marketed most of their big games ever since, they usually give us a solid year to 2 years in between these big releases. Like, I know they are trying very hard to shorten down that release reveal window, but I just don't see 3D Mario necessarily having such a short time span if they don't have a March Direct. There has been all kinds of rumors about a Nintendo Direct coming in February and March, and Nash Weedle was saying that it was either February or March. We had a partner showcase last month. We had a Indie Direct today, I think, and then tomorrow we're probably going to get some weird, crazy thing. Seems like they're just doing everything they can to get all of their announcements out of the way, which is so weird. We had like Xenoblade Chronicles X the week before, that Switch 2 Shadow Drop. That would have been perfect in a real Direct. I just don't understand what they're doing with their first-party announcements right now. Like, I honestly don't think we need a Direct. We have plenty of games coming. We know a lot about stuff, but there is stuff that they could show off more of, like Splatoon Raiders and Fire Emblem that we know are coming this year, and other games that maybe aren't announced yet that would be coming towards the end of the year. But if we get through March and there's no Direct, and April and there's no Direct, and May and there's no Direct, and it's June, I would be shocked if they revealed a 3D Mario in June and said it was coming out in like November. That would be unprecedented levels of hype. Like, there's just no way. There's no way that they would release it within 5 months of its reveal. So yes, I do think that 3D Mario is that title, which means I'm kind of hedging my bets on a March Nintendo Direct. I don't really think I'm a big fan of Nash Weedle. I could be totally wrong. He could be totally legit. He has gotten stuff right before, but Nate the Hate has said nothing on this quite yet, and I am only ever going to believe Nate. Until then, everything is just literally rumors. It's literally just people saying things. Nate has said he doesn't know anything about a 3D Mario, that he didn't say anything about that, and so that doesn't look incredibly good, but he also hasn't said anything about other holiday titles or potential games coming for the end of the year. He's predicted a 3D Mario for this year, and I think that is a big deal because his predictions tend to be accurate most of the time, I think, especially just considering how many insider information sources that he has. Like, those people talk to him a lot and he knows how the industry thinks, so of course he has a good idea on what to guess. Yeah, of all the franchises, I just don't see any of them being this year and for that holiday slot other than a 3D Mario. I could see maybe a 3D Zelda for next year's reveal, but I doubt it would come out that year. There's just not enough going on unless they have some huge, big new IP similar to a Donkey Kong Bonanza where they revive a franchise and make that the big game. That's really the only other thing I could think of. So yeah, Pokemon Wind and Wave coming out in 2027. I think that really does lead to a 3D Mario coming out towards the end of this year, unless there's no March Direct. And if there's no March Direct, I'll be kind of scared about what is going on for the end half of this year. Maybe they're deciding that they don't want a holiday game, that they don't even need it, that they're the big Nintendo and we already have Mario Kart, so you're gonna buy it anyways, right? I don't know. I really hope that they don't do that. They seem to have had some sort of big holiday title every single year since the Switch release, and I hope they continue that trend. But that is all of my opinions on Pokemon Wind and Wave and what 2027 and 26 holiday titles might look like. If you did enjoy today's video, make sure you press that like button and subscribe to join the channel. Click that notification bell to know exactly when my videos videos release, and consider joining my membership program, a few bucks a month, just to get early access to all of my videos and help support me as a content creator. Make sure you leave a comment down below telling me what you think about all of this. Am I crazy? What's going on here with this 3D Mario stuff? Does Pokemon mean nothing for the holiday title? Like, what's going on in your head? There's a new feature in which I can actually leave like voice memos as a response to your comments, so maybe I'll try that out. I've been a little scared to do that because I'm not sure what's going to happen, but it seems cool. I think it's a great way to build the community a little bit more and make things feel a little bit more personal. Break this wall down, break down the screen. But if you did enjoy today's video, make sure you click on the left side of your screen to see my breakdown of Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green, all the controversy that went down with that, and click on the right side of your screen to see the news of Xenoblade Chronicles 2 potentially getting a definitive edition or remake. Thank you so much for making it to the end of the video. I hope you have yourself a phenomenal day. This has been Ray's Nintendo Talk. I have been Ray, and I will see you all in the next video.